All right, guys. So what we realized in the last few slides is that calcium can activate CAM kinase. It codes the long duration exercise, and the CAM kinase can phosphorylate both the CREBP, so the CREB protein that's going to bind to the CRE, and it phosphorylates 1433, causes it to let go of MEF2, and once it lets go of MEF2, it's grabbed by 1433 and taken out of the nucleus. Okay, so calcium, so long slow endurance can activate PGC1 alpha transcription extensively. But one of the interesting observations that was made early on here is that when you did low intensity or high intensity exercise, the low intensity exercise activated PGC1 alpha, but the high intensity activated PGC1 alpha about threefold, two and a half fold more. So yes, doing the low intensity exercise can activate PGC1 alpha, but doing high intensity exercise can activate it even more, or even more, but in a shorter period of time. All right. So then we go back to Shintarada's work, looking at this low intensity and high intensity exercise. And the one thing that we should be thinking of is that AMP kinase activity is going to be much higher when you're exercising at a high intensity. So now we'd already talked about AMP kinase being the coding protein for this high intensity exercise stimulus. So can it do the same thing that CAM kinase can do? Can it phosphorylate the HDACs? So this is work from Sean McGee out of Australia, looking at MEF2, HDAC5, and then what he did is he used the GLUT4 promoter driving luciferase. Interestingly, the GLUT4 promoter is almost exactly the same as the PGC1 alpha promoter. So when you're increasing mitochondrial mass, fat oxidation enzymes, and angiogenesis, you're also increasing GLUT4 transcription. Okay, so now what he did is he looked to see how much luciferase activity, so how much activity of the GLUT4, the PGC1 alpha promoter, how much activity did you get when he had all these things in there? He had MEF2 and he had HDAC5, and then he added ICAR, and ICAR is an activator of AMP kinase. When he activated AMP kinase, he got a 40% increase in luciferase activity. Then he changed the experiment. Now he makes it so that the HDAC can't be phosphorylated at those two sites we saw earlier, and now you don't see an effect of AMP kinase activity. And again, as we go through this, now we can see that if there's no MEF2, you also don't see an increase in luciferase activity. So the way that ICAR, or the way that AMP kinase is working, is again that it's phosphorylating HDAC5 and it's increasing MEF2 binding, because you can see when you add MEF2A, even when you don't have ICAR, you get increased luciferase activity. When you've got MEF2A here and you don't have any HDAC5 to inhibit it, AMP kinase doesn't do anything. Okay, so what we're seeing is just like CAM kinase, AMP kinase can phosphorylate the class 2 HDACs and increase the expression of PGC1 alpha, or in this case, GLUT4. Just to show that this actually happened in people, Sean then had people exercise at a high intensity, or he exercised them at a high intensity, took muscle biopsies before and after, and looked at total nuclear protein and then total protein levels. And he looked to see, with the exercise, what happened to nuclear HDAC4, 5, and 9, the class 2 HDACs. And what you can see is that HDAC4 and 5 are transported out of the nucleus in response to exercise in people. So just like we were seeing in the cells before, where AMP kinase or CAM kinase can phosphorylate HDAC and move it out of the nucleus, in human quadricep muscle, when you're exercising, you're going to have this increase in HDAC binding to 1433 and being moved out of the nucleus. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow an increase in MEF2 activity. So metabolic stress, so high, you're using ATP faster than you can produce it, it's going to activate AMP kinase, and AMP kinase is going to phosphorylate the HDACs, have them release MEF2, and you can get MEF2 binding to the MEF2 sites, and that's going to result in export of 1433 from the nucleus.